Okay, welcome back to another E36 touring build. Today we're going to start looking at the S50 here. So this engine came out of an E36 Ti that I bought as a parts car about 6 months ago or so. I yanked the engine out. When I had the car, it was running great. It actually pulled really hard. There was nothing wrong with the car. I just got it really cheap and it had a lot of parts I needed. So that's why it came out. But luckily it had an S50 engine in it, and now it can go into E36 touring. So this video, we're just gonna be starting to disassemble the engine. I'm gonna have my roll of tape, my Sharpie, and just marking, where all the sensors went and things like that. And we're gonna pull the harness completely off and then pull the valve cover off and see what we're working with. I'm not sure how deep I wanna go with this engine. It never overheated. I know a lot of things were rebuilt on it not too long ago. So I just kinda wanna see where the engine's at. We'll probably still be replacing a lot of seals and pulleys and things like that, but I won't know until I dive into it. So let's get at it. Okay, so one thing I wanted to go over, a lot of people have questions between the S50 and the S52. So the S50 was an OBD1 engine, right? The S52 was an OBD2 engine. And there's different ways to tell them apart, but there's also different ways you can trick it. So if you're thinking you're gonna be buying an S52, it may actually be an S50 if the right person knows how to trick you. So the telltale sign is the oil cap is in back of the engine. That's always on an S50. S52s have them in the front. S52s also have a plastic valve cover. This is magnesium. And then also S50s or OBD1 cars have 3 ports on the head here. One's the throttle body. This is for the gauge cluster. It's a black temperature sensor. And this is for your DME, which should be a blue one. The OBD2 or the S52 will only have 2 ports because it uses one temperature sensor that has a 4-prong, which has 2 wires for the cluster and 2 wires for the DME. What makes this all tricky is you can fit an S52 valve cover on this engine, obviously. So if someone wants to trick you and thinking you're buying an S52 and not an S50, they can just throw an S52 valve cover on this, or an M52 one. They're actually the same. But the really only true way, and I'm not going to get into this, but I wrote a blog on it on my website if you want to see, is there has a number that's stamped on the case right here. And that will explain exactly what kind of engine this is. So if you're looking for an engine, or you think someone has a E36 M3 and you want to make sure that an M52 swap it, and you're getting what you're getting, make sure you check that data tag down there to make sure that you have a true S52 or S50. So hope that helps. we end this video, I'm actually gonna take off the transmission here just so I can get a good grasp of what parts I'll need to replace to get everything back in the car. And to do this, it's a pretty simple job, now that I have the engine out. But what I did want to say is all of these bolts are Torx bolts. And as much as you want to just take an impact, take these off, it's always a good idea to take a breaker bar, just crack them loose, because you don't want to strip a Torx bolt. If you do that, you're going to have a hard time, getting the whole transmission off. So let's go ahead and do that before we wrap up this video and see what it looks like inside. So that's a wrap on today's video. Thanks for watching. We got the S50 torn apart and we got the transmission off the old engine. Now we have a good idea what we need to buy, mostly seals, gaskets. I'm leaving the head gasket for now. I never had issues of overheating, so there's no point in breaking that seal. Everything looks really good. The cams look good, nothing's scored in there. I'm really happy with all that. Now it's just one step closer to getting everything put together. I'm gonna go back to the computer, order all the parts, and in the next video, we'll probably start tearing apart the rear subframe while we wait for all the engine parts to come in. So other than that, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.